Good Sunday morning and welcome to Inside Tennessee. I'm your moderator, John Becker. Our guest this morning is an 8th generation Tennessean. He's in the banking business. He's the father of 3, a husband. He represents Crossville and has for more than a decade now in the legislature. He also happens to be the leader of the House of Representatives and has been since the summer of 2019. Speaker Cameron Sexton is our guest this morning. Good to have you with us, Speaker. And our panel this morning, that's Billy Steer on top of your screen. He's a longtime Democrat politico, and joining us virtually, as is Susan Richardson Williams. She happens to be at the beach, so don't hold that against her. She happens to be a Republican as well. All right, good to have all of you with us. Mr. Speaker, Susan Richardson Williams says you are the most powerful elected person in the state of Tennessee, more powerful than Governor Bill Lee. True or false, and why?
Well, what I would say is I appreciate those kind words. You know, I think we work very well as a team, and you know, I don't think that any of us think that we're any higher than one another. We have the same goal, which is to improve Tennessee each and every day, and it's a pleasure to work with the governor and with the lieutenant governor. And I think the people of Tennessee are the ones who are in power, and hopefully it will stay that way here in Tennessee.
Question, and then Susan will go to you. But Mr. Speaker, you have a constitutional mandate that you must pass a balanced budget. That is unique in the state of Tennessee. But aside from passing a balanced budget, what will be the most important piece of legislation you'll be working on this upcoming session when you reconvene in mid-January?
That's a great question. There's a few, but I think one thing that we've really worked on as we've traveled the state this year is juvenile intervention. You know, our crime's up, but we also have never really focused on the juveniles and trying to take them out of that career path that they may be on. And so we've been working with the DAs and local law enforcement officials to come up with some kind of program to help juveniles get out of that crime spree and get them back into schools and hopefully to give them an opportunity to be successful in life with outside the crime.
Are there one or two specifics with that you think may be discussed that would be a move forward along that line?
Well, I mean, we're still working with the DAs on it. You know, for example, a lot of times a juvenile has to commit 6 or 7 crimes and they get a citation before they ever get to the judge. And so really it's just trying to figure out how to get to them earlier, whether that's in school, whether that's after they get the citation. But really try to get to them earlier and pull them out. And then once they're there, trying to give them programs to pull them out of that circumstance. So, you know, it hasn't really ever been done in Tennessee. And so it's going to be something that we're going to have to spend a lot of time working on.
Susan?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, one of the reasons I talked about your being powerful was because you and Lieutenant Governor are in charge of redistricting for the state. This happens every 10 years, and this time for the Republican Party, we're fortunate that we have Republican majorities in both houses. Catch us up on that when we're going to see the plans, and do you anticipate there'll be any kind of a court challenge to any of it, or do you think this is going to pass and be implemented this fall?
Yeah, so redistricting this coming week when we convene on Tuesday, we're going to have meetings on Wednesday to release the congressional map, and we plan on passing out the State House and the State Senate and the congressional maps out of the House subcommittee on Wednesday. There could be lawsuits. You never know these days. You know, they're suing in every single state. I was at a conference with other speakers, and everybody's been getting sued regardless of how they did it. And so I would expect it. But we did everything that we were supposed to do by how the court cases have been. We didn't split too many counties. We protected majority-minority districts. And so I think we did it the right way. And I don't think they'll sue, hopefully, because I don't think they're going to win because there's going to be no case to make.
Well, just following up on that, one of the local races, or one of the local districts here, District 13, there's been some conversation locally about that district, which right now is represented by Representative Gloria Johnson, with her being put into Representative Sam McKenzie's district. Can you talk about that, or do we have to wait until this week to see if that's going to come about?
No, that's the map that we put forward. That map redrew Knox County. And with Knox County, all the reps have to stay within the Knox County area. That's how it was determined by the courts long ago when you have a certain population. And just by the way, the growth happened in Knoxville, where that took place. and where Gloria and Sam lived in close proximity, it just the map kind of drew itself, and so they're in the same district, and there's some other districts to the south. So that's the way the map worked out.
Billy?
Mr. Speaker, let's talk about vaccinations. I have a neighbor who owns a small manufacturing company with about 40 employees. To protect their health and safety as a condition of their employment, they must pass a drug test. If he can require his employees to pass a drug test, should the owner of a private business be able to require his employees to be vaccinated?
Well, I think, if you're looking at a drug test, I think that's a little different. A drug test is an illegal drug that you would bring onto the premises for the most part, what you're testing. You may be testing prescription drugs, but for the most part, you're testing for marijuana and other things, which is a crime if you have those in your system because you're taking drugs that aren't legal. And so I view that totally different. If you're looking at vaccinations, I think what we did in the General Assembly was to protect the individual's right to make that decision for themselves if they want to take the vaccination shot or not. And that's the direction that we went, but I see it differently than the drug test.
Do you have a follow-up on that, Billy?
Well, I think it's interesting. The philosophical question is the difference between a private business, perhaps, and a government or public business. If a gentleman owns his own business, should he be able to require his employees to be vaccinated? I guess is the basic question to protect the health and safety of the other employees.
And as we understand,
I think
you would say no.
Well, what I would say is the vaccination doesn't protect you from other people or yourself from other people. The vaccination basically limits you being able to go into hospital or death. It limits the chronic or that part of it. It doesn't pretty much limit you never getting COVID. And so the premise that the vaccination will keep you safe and not get sick is not a valid premise. It does keep you from being hospitalized and maybe getting death. But I think that's the issue that we've been talking about when you're dealing with the vaccinations.
We're going to talk more philosophical questions and also concrete questions about the legislative session to come with Speaker Sexton right after this.